What's up, guys? Let's talk about Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 15. If you are following along in the manga, this covers chapters 82 and 83, and I feel like recently they've been very consistent about basically adapting 2 chapters per episode. And if you are following along, 2 more chapters will bring us to the end of Book 6. So I'm not prepared for next week. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm not going to spoil anything for the anime onlys, but dear God, I gotta mentally prepare myself. But anyways, let's talk about this episode first. So this episode is called Storm, which of course relates to the parallel of weathering the storm or becoming the storm, which was sort of the theme of the last episode, where Gardner basically became that storm after being subjugated to it for as long as he had, after being a slave as long as he had, losing his wife, losing whatever battle he was in, then losing his wife, becoming a slave, being probably incredibly abused. It didn't look like his slave owner was as well, I'm going to say as lenient as Kettle. And it just got to him, and it basically made him a bit feral. It turned him into this creation of a monster, which wouldn't have persisted if not for the cause of slavery and war itself, which comes back to the conversation that Thorfinn and Einar have at the end of this episode, or the second half of this episode. The first half focuses on Gardner, who is, he's captured, he's tied to a post with all of Snake's men. They're keeping him alive for now. They got people watching him. And Arnide chose in the last episode, she wasn't going to, but she came around to it. She said that she was going to try to ignore it. She's going to try to put her head in the sand, and that she was going to do whatever she could for the child that she is impregnated with right now, which would be Kettle's child that Gardner still doesn't know about. Most people don't know about, but she is pregnant, which is a huge determining factor in her decision making. But at the end of the day, she couldn't let go of the man that she loved, and rightfully so. I mean, if they were together, they were a married couple, I'd feel pretty bad if I escaped slavery to come rescue my wife and then she didn't give a shit. So she clearly does give a shit. And she decided that she was going to go out into that storm at the end of the last episode in order to go to her husband to tend to his wounds. But we all know what it leads to. Like, one thing leads to another. You know, I feel like just going to attend to his wounds is her own kind of justification for what she knows is probably inevitably going to happen. You know, it's sort of like, it's like I have to convince myself that this is all it is. I'm just going to go and tend to his wounds, and that's it. But deep down, if she was really honest with herself, she would know that she wants to help him escape and escape with him and have their family again, even though it's something that's probably never going to happen at this point. So she goes, and of course Snake is there, and he's not allowing any visitors. He's just saying, no, like, you're not seeing him. Like, get the fuck out of here, you know? And then she does manage to kind of, she doesn't even smooth talk. It's just from her being attractive. Like, one of Snake's men kind of gives way to her and says, all right, I guess I'll let you come see him. But that's it. You're just going to see him. And this moment is really fucked up if you think about it, because she's here and she witnesses, you know, the state that her husband is in, and he breaks down and apologizes to her and says, you were right, I'm so sorry. You know, he's taken all this burden on his shoulders. He thinks that all of this is his fault because he chose to go join and fight in that battle, which inevitably led to this. So he's breaking down, apologizing to her, which causes her to break down, and she's apologizing to him, and they're both basically like, I don't think Gardner is actually crying, but he's basically like, the sentiment is there, Arnide's crying. And it's just this, like, really sad moment of these people that were torn apart, that were once in love, or that are still in love. And then you have Snake's men that are, like, mocking them and making fun of them, and them saying, like, oh, why don't you give him a blowjob while you're here? And just, like, it's really fucked up when you think about it, just, like, how much they're mocking these people. Like, there is just no correlation whatsoever that these are human beings that are victims that have gone through this horrible tragedy. It's just, like, they're just here. This is, like, it's because slavery is just such a normal part of life at this point that it doesn't matter. Like, they're property, and so we're just gonna, like, harass them and make fun of them while they're having this really intimate moment. It just really puts you into perspective of, like, how fucked up things were at this time period. But there is this brief opportunity where the other guards go inside, and the one that brought Arnide over tries to go over and say, all right, that's enough. Like, I gotta take you back now. And he gets close enough that Gardner is within his reach, and he can't use his hands. And so Gardner literally rises up and bites this man's motherfucking throat out. And it's just so, dude, it's crazy in the manga. It was crazy in the anime as well, just showing him sitting there. He can't scream, he can't breathe. And then when he takes his hand away, just you see that giant bitten chunk out of his neck and the blood splurting out. And it's just like, God damn, like, I mean, to bite somebody's throat out takes a lot of fucking force to begin with, but also just that dire strength of that's all you have. I can't fight with my arms, I can't fight with my legs. I got to do something. And then he goes to that and it actually works. And the best part, I love how they did it. They did the same thing in the manga, but I think it works better in the anime because in the manga, it's at the end of the chapter that Gardner's saying, get the knife, cut me out quick. And then the chapter ends and the next chapter is Snake standing over the bodies. But I think it works better in the anime where it's just that cut. You know, it's not like the end of a chapter because you don't know what's going to happen because, you know, he falls to the ground. The other guys hear the commotion, start to come out. So Arnid only has like 10 seconds to decide what she's going to do. And this is a decision that is going to make or break her entire future. Like, this is it. Like, she's fucked if she does this. Like, this is her husband. Like, this is like the paradigm of where she's at. Like, you have your husband in front of you. You have the opportunity to save him and cut him loose. Okay, this person you never thought you were going to see again, the father of, you know, her first child. And then on the other side, you have, if I help him, I will be in just as much trouble as he is, probably maybe more so, and I may never have, you know, the kind of, what word do I want to use for this? Kind of the protection of what I have now, maybe, or the safety, or the what's the word I want to look for? It's like the security of what I have now. Like, she may be a slave, but she's going to be able to bring up her child in a place where he will be safe, where there's wealth around, where Kettle is a wealthy man, and like she could possibly, you know, make up for the child that she lost before and have the child not be taken and not be ripped away from her like it was the first time. You know, that was her main kind of decision-making point in the last episode, is that I want to do what's best for this child. I don't want this child to suffer the same fate that we went to before, regardless of who the father is for it. But she doesn't have any time to decide. And that's like the scariest thing about this moment is like, what do you do? And then, you know, we're kind of focused on that scene. We're seeing her in the dire straits of trying to decide what the right thing to do is in this moment. And then I love how it cuts. And then you just see Snake standing over all of the corpses of his men. And at that point, it's just like, it's over. Like, he's got to die. Whatever's going to happen to Arnid is what happens to her. Like, this is it. And then you got to look at it from Snake's point of view, too, where he's coming into it. He already lost one guy. And he is the head of security for this farm. Like, it's his job to make sure that this shit doesn't happen. Okay? And not only that, but he comes back and several of his men are dead. Like, a bunch of people that he put here for the responsibility, that he probably trained, that he probably has a good connection with in some way, are all killed because of this one escaped slave. Not to mention the fact that Kettle isn't here, so it's even more important for Snake to have the responsibility of protecting the farm. So Snake, like, he failed. Like, he failed his job, he failed his duty, and that just pisses him off even more. So you see where all the different characters are coming from, and that's what I really, really love about this segment of the story, is that you can understand where each of the characters are coming from and what they are determined to do moving forward. So yeah, so Gardner and Arnid are loose. Snake is like, I am not taking this lightly at all. Like, this is serious. We're getting this done. Search everywhere. Kill him. And then the second half of the episode really focuses on the conversation between Thorfinn and Einar. And I can already see probably criticisms happening about this because, you know, you built up this adrenaline with the Gardner situation, and then the second half of the episode is a lot slower. But this conversation is really, really important for several reasons. Number one, it's Thorfinn once again admitting about how he feels about his past, and that he feels like such a hypocrite for this situation whatsoever because he was the direct cause of most of this stuff to happen. So he's dealing with that conflict. He's also dealing with the burden of, you know, the corpses haunting him and feeling the weight of them no matter where he goes, and wanting to give them a place to rest, wanting redemption, but redemption in a way that will help the overall situation. And then when it comes down right to the focal point of what that is, it's war and slavery, right? So what do? Obviously, we can't change, hundreds of years of Nordic indoctrination and cultural impact of, being praised for war and everything. So is there another outlet? Is there another way to do it? And this comes back full circle to him remembering the story of Vinland and this land across the sea that is away from all of this stuff, that's free from all of this stuff. And what if we were able to make that journey? What if we were able to build a civilization? And what if, beginning that civilization, we abolish war and slavery and it becomes our own world, our own savior, our own sanctuary to create this? But creating that also, is like such a huge, ambitious project because you need funding, you need to sail, you need people, you need to build. Like, it requires a lot. But if Thorfinn is able to do that, then maybe those corpses could finally rest. Maybe if he built a society away from that, they would be. And it also brings in the other important point that Einar brings up, saying, yeah, but that inevitably, at one point, you would be attacked. So how would you defend the territory without weapons? Like, if you go without swords, if he wants to create a world without swords, what do you do when people show up with swords? And that's sort of the ultimate moral paradox of Vinland Saga, is sort of like having swords incites war in a way, and it makes you eager for war, and it makes you think about war, and it makes the idea of it seem alluring, the same way that Thorfinn, when he first picked up his father's knife and he looked at it like it was something magical and wondrous, right? It creates that just that innate desire, right? It's the building blocks. It's not just because of that, but it's the building blocks. But if you don't have anything to defend yourself at all, then you are subject to whoever comes in to decide to dominate over you. And it's kind of the paradox of human life and human civilization. And that's kind of what it comes down to. And what I love about Vinland Saga is it creates the conversation. I don't really think there is a right answer, no matter which way you look at it. But this is the conversation that Vinland Saga is proposing to the world. Is there a way? And if there is, how do you do it? And then we place our character Thorfinn having those questions back in a time in history where, well, I wouldn't say it's probably harder than it is now. Now it's probably actually harder, but the idea is that it would be harder because it's so engraved within society. So that is the battle, that is the quest of a true warrior, to figure that out. But anyways, I absolutely love this episode. I love the music of this episode. The score was great, and a lot of the shots looked fantastic, especially when Snake shows up and just finds the dead bodies of all of his men. Just that look on his face was done fantastically, I thought. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of this episode down below. Leave your thoughts, comments, opinions. If you're anime only, leave your ideas of what you think is going to happen next. Now that Thorfinn and Einar know that Gardner and Arnheid escaped, how do you think they're going to play into the situation? What do you think Snake is going to do next? Did Gardner, is he still on the farm somewhere? He is injured, don't forget. So tell me what you think is going to happen. Otherwise, guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and comment to help it in the algorithm. I know it sounds lame, but it really, really does help me out when you like and comment. It just helps the video be seen more. I'd really appreciate the help. And if you guys wanted to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have channel memberships turned on for as low as $1, Patreon for as low as $1, merch store down below too, and all the social media links where you can follow me. So other than that, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next time.